Hello and welcome back to our Extreme Photo Talks here live from the launch event of the OM-D E-M1X. And our topic now is speed and high-speed performance. And we have three photographers on the stage. Let's start with you, Ben, Laurent, and Konsta. Three photographers who also were invited by Olympus to take the camera onto a little photographic mission to bring back pictures and to talk about them. So let's start with you, Ben. What do you do and how did you get into photography?
Basically, I'm a German wildlife and landscape photographer, and I'm based in Iceland. But I only moved roughly 6 years ago to Iceland, and I wasn't a photographer then. I started photography about 3 years ago, and before that I was working in tourism mainly, so I was showing all my customers the beautiful and nice places in Iceland, and everybody had a camera, and they were all taking cool photos. So I was really inspired by that, and it basically brought me to buying my first camera, and since then my photography journey basically started. Yeah.
Cool. Do you hang out with Benjamin Hartman in Iceland?
That's how we met actually in Iceland. We became friends at the same spot. I was still working in a hotel, and then he came by and we became friends, and now we're taking photos together.
Okay, although you live in Iceland, you chose another location to take your pictures in. You see, does it work? All right. This doesn't exactly look like Iceland. Where was it taken?
No, it's actually the opposite of Iceland. It's another island. It's next to Africa. It's called Madagascar. And I went there for Olympus in December. This is actually a Parsons chameleon. It's the biggest chameleon in the world. They get about up to 70 centimeters long, which is quite big for a chameleon. And as you can see in the photo, it just rained basically before I took the shot. So you can still see the little raindrops on the skin of the chameleon. And after the rain, it still stayed very dark in the jungle. So I had to go very low with the shutter speeds, and I wanted to keep the ISO very low. But luckily, the internal stabilization of the Olympus is just brilliant. So I could get this shot with 1/20th of a second. And the autofocus as well performed just excellent.
Did you look like the chameleon in the rain?
Well, I stayed outside when it was inside when it was raining. It was just liters coming down in seconds. It was just crazy tropical rain. So it's like taking a shower basically outside.
Okay, now this doesn't look like an image where speed was
No, exactly.
was key.
And chameleons are not known for their fast-moving speed.
Except for when they...
Except that, the tongue, which can be 1.5 size of the whole body of the chameleon.
Oh, really?
And the eyes, actually, they move very fast, the eyes. But that's the only thing that moves fast of a chameleon, yeah.
The next animal was moving faster, I guess, when you shot it.
It's a bit faster. It's actually a brown lemur baby, and it's clinched around the back of the mother. And you can see that the tail of the mom is just slightly over the head. So it was very shy and just hiding under the tail of the mom and just always lurking out. And the mom was jumping around the trees, so I had to follow them with the camera and just, try to get the shot when the baby was looking out. And I was shooting it with 18 frames per second, burst mode, and this is what I got. It was pretty brilliant.
How far away were you from them?
Roughly 2 meters, 2.5 meters.
And they let you get this close?
Yeah. They're monkeys, and they're a lot of tourists coming. So some guides, they give them bananas, and they're naturally very curious. So you're standing in the jungle and suddenly the llamas come and they just jump on your shoulder, on your head. And it's quite fantastic to experience that. Such lovely animals, yeah.
Okay, next up an image of an animal that was very impressed by your camera.
Oh, yeah. Maybe first I explain what animal that is. It's called eye. It's a part of the lemur species. It's just a nocturnal animal. That means they sleep during the day, and as soon as it gets dark, they get alive, and they climb around the trees trying to search for fruits and flowers. But what they really love is coconuts. So I went there with 2 guides, and we brought 2 coconuts, and we put them between trees. And it took roughly 3 minutes, and 5 of these guys were just coming close and nagging on the coconut. They have really spiky teeth. And in 2 or 3 minutes, they had the coconut cracked. And their hands, they have an extended middle finger, which is double the size of the others. And then they go into the coconut and get the flesh and try to eat it. It's an amazing animal. They look like aliens with their bad ears and their long fingers, but it's still amazing to see, yeah.
Okay, so speed in this photo is about taking A lot of pictures and hitting the right moment to get that expression and that composition.
Exactly. Yeah, we had LED lights to like light it up as it was dark, of course, in the night. The ISO was very high, but the autofocus of the new Olympus even works very, very good in low light. So I was absolutely confident to get the shot.
Cool. Another little fellow.
Yeah, just a very little frog. It's about 40 millimeters tall. And these guys are normally like full or everywhere in the jungle. And I intentionally came to Madagascar in December because it's rainy season, starting from November until April. This year it wasn't raining at all, so we had to search for the frogs. And if it's dry, the frogs are hiding in between the tree axes or in big flowers where the water is accumulated. And we had to lure them out with like some little sticks. And then they jumped on the leaves. And I started to shoot it with like normal continuous autofocus, but then I saw the frog was not moving or not jumping away, and I tried to get it with a handheld high resolution shot, and this is what I managed. It's actually amazing how far you can zoom in and still have the details of the frog.
The details.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for those images, and let's go over to Laurent Vu. Came from France, and Laurent is a photojournalist. A typical photojournalist who's all across the world all the time. You go to the Cannes Film Festival, you shoot magazine covers, the World Cup, Olympic Games, wherever there's action, you're there, right?
Oui, exactement. Oui.
He will answer to me in French. I'll do a little bit of a translation, but you understand well when I ask my questions in English. And tell me about this first shooting that you did here.
Donc là, j'ai photographié un très grand champion de VTT qui s'appelle Brian Rehn, et le challenge sur ce shooting, c'était de tester la rapidité de l'autofocus et aussi la rafale, savoir si tout ça suivait, et aussi dans ces conditions difficiles, parce que il fallait bouger dans la montagne, grimper à des endroits, savoir si l'ensemble était très mobile et réactif.
Okay.
Donc ça permet de ça.
Let me translate quickly. What you're seeing here is a champion, world champion? Or a champion,
France champion, yeah.
A champion in mountain biking, and Laurent went to him to southern France to take these images. And what he was particularly paying attention to was the autofocus, because as you all know, an object that's moving to the camera is pushing the autofocus really to the limit, because it really needs to move the lens, and it needs to follow that rapid action very well. Plus, I think you said there was also
la possibilité de pouvoir bouger rapidement avec le système.
And as you can imagine, this is sort of in the wilderness, so he had to bring little gear. He really liked the compactness and the lightweight of the camera. All right, another amazing shot taken at this shooting.
Ouais.
And then let's move over to another sport, rugby, the one thing that unites the UK and France.
Yeah.
A big passion for this sport, and you told me that this is a particularly difficult sport to take pictures of.
Oui. Donc, oui, le rugby, c'est un sport qui est difficile à prendre en photo parce que, en fait, surtout, on ne sait jamais où le ballon va partir. Contrairement à des sports comme le mountain bike ou la voiture de course, où on peut suivre une trajectoire. Là, que ce soit le football ou le rugby, on ne peut pas savoir si le ballon va partir à gauche ou à droite. Donc,
oh, this is interesting. As the ball they're playing with is not round, it's a sport where you can't really predict what's going to happen next, because when it hits, you don't know, like in soccer, for example, it will go in the direction it came from. Here, it can go anywhere, and this means for the photographer that you have to really fast, be really fast in following the action.
Une très grosse réactivité de l'autofocus, et aussi une grande rafale, et savoir tout.
Okay, so another one in rugby. Is it rugby, right?
Yeah.
And
et aussi, là c'est des photos de jour, mais j'ai pu tester des photos de rugby durant la nuit, et j'ai été très impressionné parce que je suis monté jusqu'à 10 000 ISO, et j'ai pu observer qu'il y avait une très bonne... le grain ne montait pas, enfin voilà, il pouvait monter en sensibilité.
Other than the photos you see here, he also went to rugby games that happened in the evening or at night with very low light conditions where he shot up to ISO 10,000, and he really liked the cleanliness of the images with little noise, and the possibility of the autofocus to perform under low light, which is once again something that's putting the autofocus to the test. Much more difficult for the camera to be on spot in dark conditions.
Il accroche très bien de nuit, ouais.
Okay, and Laurent even went for a third kind of sports, which is happening in southwestern France, I guess.
Oui, donc c'est des photos qui ont été prises dans la Mecque du surf en France, c'est à côté de Biarritz, à Osgore. Et là, justement, ce qui était intéressant de voir sur cette photo, c'est de pouvoir bosser la combinaison entre le M1X et le 300 mm, qui donne un 600 mm. Donc l'objectif qu'on utilise beaucoup en surf. Mais là, l'avantage par rapport aux autres marques en full frame qui sont obligées, parce que c'est des objectifs très lourds, d'utiliser des monopodes. Là, c'était la possibilité de l'utiliser sans monopode et d'être très réactif et mobile sur la plage.
The special challenge in these kind of photos is that the action is happening far away. So he took his 300mm lens, which is a 600mm equivalent. And when you know full frame camera, 600mm is a big lens, which can only be operated from a monopod, and which gets very heavy and not very fast to move around. And he was particularly impressed by the compactness of the system, that he could shoot freehand without a monopod, and that is much lighter. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, another one of those images, and on to you, Konsta.
Yes.
Konsta is the 1.5 million man, the 1.5 million followers on Instagram, right?
Yeah, well, 1.2, but yeah.
Wow, 1.2 is almost 1.5.
Yeah.
How did you do that? What do people want to see when you post your pictures?
Well, for me, the passion is wildlife pictures, and it's all about taking good and intimate portraits of different mammals or sometimes birds. And I guess it's always all about the content, and this time people started to like it when I posted quality wildlife pictures, so I think that was what worked it out.
You live in Iceland? Sorry, Finland. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up.
Yeah.
In Finland, and you chose to go to the Netherlands for your pictures.
Yeah, well, December is often pretty difficult time to take wildlife pictures. Netherlands is a good place because the temperatures stay often pretty similar, and the swamp areas, for example, where I shot this great heron shot, they stay often clear. So, for example, this shot, I spent a lot of time in the water and used to get the handheld high-res shot. So it's with areas like southern Netherlands and stuff, the birds are pretty, tame with people. So it's possible to get pretty close as well. So that's why Netherlands is a very good spot for wildlife.
So you put on those rubber pants and sit in the cold water for how long to take these kind of pictures?
Well, for this one, I put the fisherman pants on, and then I roamed around the river bend and found a spot where the gray heron is, and just started to go slowly in the water until probably on my knees, and then just stayed there. And at least for the high-res shot, you need a very high-speed thrust mode. So that's what I used. I just went very close to the water reflection edge, and then used the tilt screen and took the 16 photos to make the frame.
Okay. When you're there, you also get to see this.
Yes, this was pretty much like half an hour later. I was laying again at the same spot in the riverside, and I saw this bird playing with the fish. So it was basically catching the fish and then releasing it back to the river, so it could recatch it many times. And I think he was playing with it before he finally ate it. So in this moment, everything happened so fast all the time So I used Pro Capture quite a few times and captured the whole series of how the fish went back to the water and how he captured it, and then burst mode pretty much all the other times, as you can never really know what's going to happen. So that was very, very good.
Okay. Not only birds there, but also these little fellows.
Yes, well, this guy is a different case. They are water rats, so they often stay away from the human sites at the daytimes, but sometimes they come to eat on the river, and they might chill on the side of the river. So they basically swim all the time, and then you might have to be ready to capture it on the side. So this one, I again had a camera ready, and the guy luckily came in front of me, and I got few shots.
The next one is quite impressive. These foxes let you get obviously very close.
Yes, so these are part of sort of a group of foxes I have photographed many years. These are in northeast of Netherlands. There is a couple of foxes I have followed. So I spent 3 days with this guy, and sometimes managed to capture a site where he looked straight into camera, and that time again I often take on vertical pictures, but it works the same as you can change the grip. So it was pretty happy with the results. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So to wrap up the topic of speed, for you it has a lot to do with the burst rates. It has to do with the image stabilizer and handheld high-res shot. You like the
Tracking, focus.
the tracking, the autofocus tracking,
The
the
burst.
low light performance, and the compactness of the camera.
Yeah, exactly.
And Ben, what was your outstanding feature that you like best?
I really must say that the camera felt super comfortable from the first second in my hands, and I think they really topped the autofocus of the OM-D E-M1. But my favorite feature, I think, is the high-res handheld shot, because I can still do it with animals, and that's very interesting for me.
Quite interesting to hear about handheld high-res shot across all those talks. Thank you very much for having been here. Go and check out their images in the virtual gallery if you're watching us in the stream. If you are here on site, go and see the images. I think they speak for themselves. If you have questions to them, they are here. You can answer. They can answer questions that you post on the Instagram accounts of Olympus Europe or Olympus Suomi. And join us for the next expert talk in a little while, when we'll talk about video capabilities of the camera. Thank you very much. Thank you.